Holy crap, I have not seen a developer under this kind of fire ever since Riot and all of their accusations. I would actually say this is probably much worse than that. The Blizzard Backlash has now begun, has been going on for the past 24 plus hours. On top of that, Blizzard Boycott is now trending, at least here in the US, if not all around the world. What's up, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to more esports talk. Today we talk about the progression of this Blizzard story. If you guys somehow do not know where this all did stem from, it was actually Blitzchung, a Hearthstone pro, during the Grandmasters series, actually on a Blizzard broadcast. He was protesting and trying to call for a liberation of Hong Kong. If you guys do not know the political turmoil over there in that area, well, it's pretty strenuous, so he was voicing his opinion about that. The broadcasters also on air with him were fired, along with him being banned for 1 year, and all of his earnings from that Grandmasters series being taken away, all because he said and called for a revolution over there in Hong Kong, leading many people out there to say, okay, you have now tried to subdue free speech. And well, the reactions, I have not seen something like this in such a long time. Guys, it's gone so far that memes have even entered this, from the Overwatch scene actually being Mei, the character inside Overwatch. People are now calling her the liberator of Hong Kong. Even further than that, guys, we also have HKA. That's the Hong Kong attitude. They've now progressed to the group stage of the League of Legends Worlds, one of the biggest esports events, if not the biggest one, every single year. Although, despite articles out there, guys, I do believe the owner and the team are probably not going to make a message. Not only the fact that Tencent own 100% of Riot, alongside that, what we believe to be is the owners of Hong Kong attitude are actually pro-China in this argument. So not much going to come of that, but you know, the fact that a Hong Kong team has actually made the group stage of Worlds just adds to all of this. You look at the Twitch chat across all of those Worlds games going on yesterday, well, yeah, they were pretty much filled with the fact that Hong Kong liberation, liberate Hong Kong, so on and so forth. Even further than that, guys, it continues as now Blizzard employees. You guys got to keep in mind that not every employee out there agrees with what Blizzard did. I would say a lot of them probably do not. They have now covered up sayings all across the Blizzard campus of think globally and everyone has a voice. Those are now covered up alongside their campus. College pro players are now protesting this. Senators are now talking about this. It's all over the Reddit, all over the forums, all over the internet, and trending on Twitter. Blizzard has really fricked up. And the latest updates from Blizzard, guys, they actually posted on Weibo yesterday, I do believe, and they actually made sure to note as well, they will continue to safeguard the dignity of the nation out there, that being the nation of China, aka Blizzard will continue to protect their main consumers out there, that being over in China. The main debate right now we continue to talk about. You guys had some great comments yesterday, and I think a lot of you guys stood for free speech, you stood for Hong Kong, you stood for Blitzchung, and the fact this guy has now been banned for an entire year for what he said over a 7-second broadcast of trying to free Hong Kong, or liberate Hong Kong, whatever it might be. Does that seem harsh? I think by many people's standards out there, it certainly is, and we've seen that vast response. But again, Tencent does hold that 5% stake inside Blizzard Entertainment, and you look at all the titles that Blizzard does hold, and a lot of their market being in China, it is very simple to kind of reason as to why they made this choice. They knew the backlash that would come, and they had to choose to do something about Blitzchung or to not do something. Whether or not their hand was forced, I have no idea, but when it comes to choosing their main consumers to protect China and not protect the free speech of one of their individual players, right? You look at the games, obviously most recent is Call of Duty Mobile, you look at Overwatch, you look at Hearthstone, there are a list of many other games they service to China, are distributed by Tencent inside China. Tencent very strongly tied to the Chinese government, so it seems very likely they chose their Chinese consumers. They chose the more financially viable reason to now ban Blitzchung and protect the Chinese nation instead of allowing that free speech. It is very simple to reason as to why they did so, because if they did not, let me give Blizzard's side a bit of my take on this. I'm not saying what they did was right whatsoever, but the reasoning behind it, it does make sense in terms of if their distribution was cut off in China, they might be suffering more financially than they are now. Although, to be fair, the message they did subdue has now gone international. I don't think anyone would have heard of this Blitzchung story in the manner they have now unless Blizzard did the things they did. So, you know, give credit to Blitzchung for making this message so viral, and Blizzard to actually enabling that based off their reaction. But we have seen it several times before of developers or games in general. I believe it was actually Battlefield 4, because it was making China look bad. That distribution was cut off in China. We actually had indie devs as well, several developers out there, one of them being of the game Devotion. They actually mocked a Chinese president at the time inside their game. Distribution was cut off entirely. There are many other examples as well of games that kind of walk the fine lines of censorship that have been blocked distribution-wise entirely in China. And so obviously obviously if Blizzard did not step in here, and they being owned by 5% of Tencent obviously tied to the Chinese government, the presumption would be that there might be some cutoff of Chinese distribution for all of their games in China. And so financially, they chose, hey, let's protect China instead of actually allowing our players to have free speech. Let's safeguard this nation of China. That way we can actually be still allowed to distribute over there. Now, what's the backlash of this? Now we have consumers all around the world apparently boycotting Blizzard, and so their decision they thought was probably the best one, maybe not so much anymore. Even going as far as their own employees covering up signs on their campuses that actually preach free speech and preach that everyone has a voice, those are now being covered up. I never thought it would reach this point, and let's be fair, I don't think Blizzard could have expected this either. This is crazy. They try to subdue a guy on stream who was on stream for about 30 seconds. They try and hide that, but then they swing that hammer hard, and what do? They probably swing a bit too hard. They ban the player for a year. They fire the casters as well, and now all of a sudden the entire community, with BlizzCon coming up, is now against you. BlizzCon this year is set to be a riot as this story gets ever more increasingly crazy. And what are you guys' thoughts on this? What are your genuine thoughts on this? What's your response? What do you think will be the next steps for Blizzard? It's going to be insane this next few weeks, this next few months to see how Blizzard does react. Riot was under fire not too long ago. They responded, and I would say not too good of a fashion, but even with all the accusations against Riot, everything has kind of whelmed itself. Everyone's kind of forgotten. Will people forget about this though, and how long will it take is the giant overarching question. As always, breaking down esports and gaming news here at Esports Talk every single day. I hope you guys all enjoy. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye.